USC takes on LSU in lovely Las Vegas. LSU's a 6.5-point favorite here. Excuse me, LSU's a 4.5-point favorite. The number was at 6.5 total. It's ticked down a bit to 64.5. Scary, but I actually lean under. I don't think I'll play it though. Fast track with questions on defense, but both teams did bring in new coordinators. Very similar teams in that they both lost NFL quarterbacks to the first round of the NFL draft. They both lost 2 wide receivers to the NFL draft, and they both hope a new defensive coordinator can help fix their respective defenses. LSU also has questions on, the defensive line. They lost last year's defense, which was so bad. They lost Spates at linebacker and 3 defensive linemen to the NFL. And then obviously they still have questions in the secondary. LSU allowed over 45 points per game versus the 4 ranked opponents they faced last year. Special teams also a question. The intangibles here favor USC, I think. Location in Vegas, better special teams. And I also think the USC defensive improvements in the summer were much better than LSU's, especially on the back end. I love a lot of the secondary pieces that they brought in. I trust the USC secondary much more than the LSU unit at this time. I'm a big Miller Moss guy. We were on him in the bowl last year. Talented offense, Lincoln Riley running it. Now I think with Lynn in town as his defensive coordinator, you brought in Vance, Nicholson, the Arnolds, Humphrey, and Ramsey from UCLA. I like the additions. I like the whole staff of the defensive staff. So I like USC catching the points here. I have this slightly under a field goal. I think this is like probably last team with the ball wins.
Yeah.
By the way, I feel bad. I won every year. It feels like I bet against LSU too much, and I'm never on them in the futures market. My LSU fans are some of my favorite people in the world. I remember a bunch of them came up to stagger in one weekend. They all had, they gave my wife a Burrow jersey, a LSU Burrow. It was, we were all cheering for them and something. Friends with a lot of them. So I wish I could have touted LSU for something in the off season. But I'll bet you eventually this year, but not on Sunday. Let's say.
I mean, I don't hate LSU. I took them on their conference win total over. I mean, I still like them. I just don't like them in this game. I think this is more about how much I love USC and what I think their ceiling could be. Both of these teams hired defensive coordinators over the offseason, and they both desperately needed to. Lincoln Riley's does not pay attention to the defensive side of the ball, never has at any stop that he's ever been at. And then LSU, holy cow. 6 of their 8 SEC opponents scored at least 30 points. So both of them needed changes. And USC, in my opinion, is the one that made the best change. Now, D'Anton Lynn comes over from UCLA. He had an immediate impact for the Bruins. It's like people forgot that Chip Kelly had Jerry Azanaro there, and they were 125th against the rush. It's like people forgot just how bad that UCLA defense was until D'Anton Lynn came in-house. Now, I keep going back to this. I know D'Anton Lynn was not a part of the official bowl roster for USC when they played in the Holiday Bowl, but he was videoed walking into practices every single day. The result, a USC defense that missed 141 tackles throughout the season only missed 6 in that bowl game. So I was extremely impressed with the changes. And Lincoln Riley even said it at Big Ten Media Day that was the best defensive effort he's seen. Not all year. He said years. I was like, wow. All-star coaching staff. When you can go out and get your linebackers coach to be Matt Entz, who was a head coach at North Dakota State, how does that happen? I mean, it's not hard to sell LA and coach at USC, but that is something. UCLA under D'Anton Lynn jumped to 7th in defensive havoc. We'll see in the NFL, Latu Latu, and produced the best pass rush in all of FBS. Also in the back end, UCLA was 12th in coverage grading, and it was just a massive lift from about 90th to 14th in defensive finishing drives. Just couldn't get points on the board against UCLA when you got into scoring position. It was such a massive D'Anton Lynn coming from the Ravens. These Ravens assistants that are coming into college they're dominating opposing offenses. It's the one NFL to college transition that always needs to be looked at. Now LSU, completely different story. I didn't understand this hire. I still don't get it, and I don't think it's going to play out well for them. LSU's defense was horrific, as stated, what they did in SEC games last year. They went out and got Blake Baker of Missouri as if this was going to upgrade this defense. Baker was great at producing havoc. I know Missouri was top 20 and havoc. They were top 20 in stopping the rush. They were not good against opponent passing games or against explosives whatsoever. Missouri finished 104th in defensive finishing drives. And for those of you that don't know, that's how many points do you get after you cross the 40-yard line. Every team that faced Missouri and crossed the 40-yard line averaged 4.6 points per trip. That's unacceptable. But now he is the defensive coordinator at LSU, who's and I just don't see a lift in stopping explosives and allowing teams to get points up on the board. As far as USC on the offense goes, Miller Moss won the starting job. Quarterback coach was quoted as saying he won the job over Jaden Mava coming in from ULV because of his ability to protect the ball. His protection of the ball was paramount. That is big against LSU, especially if Blake Baker is able to reproduce that havoc that he had at Missouri. Now, USC is going to field one of the top offensive lines in the Big Ten. I believe they were 4th or 5th in a lot of the rankings that I saw. And then when you look on the LSU side, Mike Denbrock is gone. He's no longer the offensive coordinator. He's at Notre Dame. So Brian Kelly, instead of going out and getting a new offensive coordinator, he has co-OCs Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton that were promoted from within. The offense, though, has to change. I mean, it just can't be outside zone from Jaden Daniels and what he would throw downfield. That's gone. It's now Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier is not going to run 20 times a game using inside zone like Jaden Daniels or using outside zone like Jay. It's just not going to happen. Garrett Nussmeier is more about throwing deep. So there's a lot of issues with LSU. They haven't resolved.
And the wide receivers are obviously not going to be as good. I mean, USC also lost to the NFL, but
yeah,
they didn't lose 2 in the first round, the caliber that LSU lost, and you're losing Daniels' legs.
Yeah.
So while the offensive line is really good, the offense is definitely going to take a step back, and I don't think the defense can overcome with that drop off with some of its improvements. They'll definitely be better, but I think the USC defense has improved more.
Let me say this about the total, because boy, there's a love fest with that over, and I don't think it's done. Stuck. I think, you know what? Everybody Sunday, they don't have to work on Monday. Everybody's going to be laying out their pool, enjoying their last weekend of bright sunshine, and they're going to say, these two teams have terrible defenses. We got to take the over. I don't know if this thing's going to stop at 64.5. I don't know where it's going to stop, but once I get to about 67, let me tell you how this thing goes under. If D'Anton Lynn can simply take this USC defense that ranked outside the top 120 in every single statistical category, if he can get them to line up correctly, if he can get them to take the proper angles for tackles, if he can get one-on-one tackles, and he can get 11 helmets flying to the football, USC can potentially finish 90th or 80th in all these defensive metrics. To me, that equals an extra 4 stops per game, maybe some 3 and outs from a USC defense. We can all dream. So I think if D'Anton Lynn simply returns to fundamentals with this team, this game can go under. Absolutely can go under. So I'm going to play the side on USC, and I'm going to sit on this steam and watch it, and maybe a little underplay will come in at some point.